So if you're going to hire some independent contractors to do some book sourcing for you, they need to seek their own training. Now it's difficult because a lot of times you're looking for people to work for you that have never done book sourcing before, and you want to help them set up their own essentially book sourcing business that's independent of yours. How do you do that? Well, there's a few different ways you can do that. Again, make sure you're checking with accountants and lawyers that you can trust that'll give you the good, solid professional advice that's relevant to your area. I know on a state-by-state basis, this changes. So some states will say, we look for this, this, and this for somebody to be considered an independent contractor, where it does vary from state to state. So be sure you do due diligence there. But for us, we train them in to be book sourcers before we hire them for free. And then if they decide they like the job and they've been fully trained in, then we offer them an agreement. And then they bid for a position. And then we fill them in and we work out the compensation plan. We negotiate that out, and then we go from there. They're also going to need to buy or rent their own supplies and equipment. And so you can go both ways. You can just have them buy it. I mean, you can sell them on the profitability of this arrangement. And maybe if they have some extra capital, they'll be able to put it down and buy some equipment or put some on a credit card. Or A Seller Tool and some others, they have payment plans. I mean, you can rent their equipment. I think to rent a PDA and the barcode scanning device, I think it's like an extra $15 a month. So instead of $30 a month, you spend $45 a month. You have all the equipment you need. So you get that equipment. I think they give you like 30 days or something to try it out. And before your first payment comes due, you could have already paid for that equipment. I mean, that's how much money you can make in this business, as you already know, and so it won't be too hard to recoup those costs. So book sources, really, they just need to have that kind of equipment. All they need is equipment. If they want, some book sources will use like bins or totes or something to carry the books around, and that's fine, but that's going to be something they're going to need to supply on their own. They should also have a reasonable amount of autonomy. Again, we talked about this before, but they should be able to function independently. They should be able to be an independent contractor in the sense that they have that self-motivation and reliance. And the same goes for book listers too. Again, they need to seek their own training. They need to buy and rent their own equipment and supplies. So for them, it's going to be, they're going to supply, obviously, their own computer. Typically, that's a prerequisite, I think, for somebody who wants to be listing books. And then a USB scanner. Costs about $20. They need a scale that costs about $30. They'll need supplies, so boxes and tape and some type of paper to fill in the cracks with. Depending on how much they want to buy that, it's going to cost a little bit of money. They're going to need labels. They're going to need ink. They're going to need a printer. They're going to need paper. And, all that stuff does add up. They're going to need the program. They're going to pay monthly for that. So however you want to structure things, talk to your accountant and make sure it's legitimate. I know some people will put together like a sourcing or listing package, and then the book lister will buy it from them or in payment plans. So they'll like be installments. They'll pay $10, $15, $20 a month, whatever it is, until it gets paid off. And then they'll own all that equipment themselves. And that way they can kind of maintain that independent status. And just like with the book list or book sourcer, the book listers also need to have autonomy. They need to have self-motivation and self-drive, because nobody's telling them when to list books and when to ship the books in and how to do the process. So they're going to have to figure that out on their own and motivate themselves. And then finally, book sales managers. Now, when we first created this position, we didn't know all the details of what it meant to be an independent contractor. So I'm sharing with you a lot of the knowledge that I've learned along the way. I didn't necessarily know when I first started out. The book sales manager, as we had him positioned, was more like an employee than an independent contractor. So it's much harder to make this managerial position work, because again, if they're essentially an extension of you, which is what the book sales manager does. He does everything that you would do, but don't want to do because you'd rather focus on other things in life. It's going to be a little harder, but it just takes some creativity. So I think you can sit down and you can figure out how to make him an independent contractor. I think that's definitely possible. If not, you might want to consider making him a singular employee for your company. Now, having like less than a dozen employees, or I can't remember what the numbers are, but they lessen the regulations if you have a really small company. And so maybe you can consider doing that. Or you can get rid of the book sales manager position altogether. And again, if you train people in properly and you automate a bunch, there's different ways you can automate their training and automate, just coordination with them. It might not take too much extra effort on your part. So in conclusion, if you think about hiring some independent contractors, make sure that they actually are independent contractors. Speak with a tax professional, speak with an accountant, speak with a lawyer, whoever you got to speak with that's going to give you some clear-cut professional answers, because it's so important. Trust me, if you year after year are filing on your tax return that you have independent contractors, you are putting up red flags, and your business will be at a higher audit risk than those that don't. So you need to make sure things are structured properly, because the last thing I want to hear about is you guys, starting businesses, hiring a bunch of independent contractors, and then a couple years down the road getting audited and having to pay a bunch of back taxes because you didn't structure things properly. But ultimately, do your own research. You don't need experts and gurus to tell you everything in life. You can do some of your own work and your own research and your own discernment. I highly recommend that. And if you're thinking about maybe hiring some employees instead, maybe the employee model would fit better with your particular business, then be sure to watch the video on employees in this same module, and hopefully that'll answer some of the questions you may have. So again, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you're able to glean some very practical, helpful information, and we'll catch you in the next video.